Did you know that despite making up 50% of sellers, women hold just 30% of the sales leadership roles? It's not a pipeline problem. That's a promotion problem. Welcome to the Women in Sales Leadership podcast, where we make the new rules of success for high-performing women in sales. And I'm your host, Amy Evans, sales leader turned executive coach. After 25 years in the trenches at Salesforce, EDP, and startups, I now help ambitious sales managers step into second-line leadership roles. If you are ready to lead with authority, earn what you're worth, and make a bigger impact, you are in the right place. Click follow so the next episode will be waiting for you. Hey, welcome to Women in Sales Leadership. We're talking about this topic of knowing when you're stuck. Signs that you've outgrown your role, outgrown whatever's going on with you in your life right now, how to get access to it, and how to really embrace it if that's possible. It can be. And then also how to move forward from there and how to know what to do next. So we'll cover those three things. So the first one is, if you are in a spot where, and you know this, if you know, right? This is like the original, if you know. When you're not in the fray, when you're not just running from one meeting to the next, one task to the next, this Zoom, this meeting, this forecast, this team call, taking care of the kids, making sure all the things on the home front are getting done that are on your other to-do list, your second shift to-do list. When you actually have time to be with yourself and to acknowledge where you are and what's going on, oftentimes we come to this point where we can see for ourselves that what's in front of us and makes it super uncomfortable is this realization that you're not where you want to be. And it's not a not where you want to be from a hey, I'm scrolling social media and I see someone's life that looks so much better. Well, we know that's not real, right? This is more inside of you, where you have a minute to decompress and unplug from the go, and you're sitting there with yourself and you're thinking, okay, am I really going to muster up the courage? Am I really going to muster up the energy and what it takes to show up again this week, to show up again this month, to show up again this quarter, and show up again this year? And what does that showing up look like? That's where we want to spend time in today's conversation, is this acknowledgement. Whenever I have felt myself starting something new that I was excited about, that I was energized with, I knew it. I knew I was excited. I knew I was energized. And it's so easy at the beginning. High performers are energized with starting things, with turning things around. You stumble in and there's this big old freaking mess and you get to figure out how to clean it up, and all the tests of yourself and your leadership along the way. What happens when the mess is cleaned up and all you're doing now is just showing up and making the donuts day after week, after month, after quarter? You get it. It's this treadmill moment. And there's two choices to make there. The choice is really, okay, I'm either cool with this and I'm going to embrace it, that this is my moment of, I'm not running steep uphill at a 5% climb like I did this morning in my workout, and as fast as I can go. I'm in a steady pace. Still requires testing of me, still requires me to show up with endurance and stamina, but it doesn't have that thrill. And so the choice is, are you cool with the lack of the thrill, or is it time? Is it time to start to look elsewhere, to look outside. And only you know the answer to this. When I think about the times that I was ready to look outside in my career, it was really all about growth. I could feel in myself, I could feel in my development that I'd started to bump up against, like, this job is becoming easy for me. Like, nothing's ever easy, like, but it's easier. It's not challenging. I'm not growing. I'm not learning anything. And so those were points in my career where I was able to look at that and say, you know what? I could stay here. I could absolutely hang out here and be at this role and be in this company for a while. If I did that, the trade-off for me, especially in those early days, was going to be at a sacrifice to really being authentic for myself, for who I know I am and what I know my life is about and what I know I love and, like, lights me up with energy and joy and spark, right? That spark. It's not always going to be a spark. Every day isn't going to be a spark. Some days it's going to suck. But if there's a spark most of the time that makes you say, you know what, I am excited to go to work on Monday. I'm not sitting here dreading it on Sunday night. I'm not getting cranky and getting in a bad mood about it. I'm actually fired up because I'm doing something that challenges me, that stretches me, that helps me grow. And I might be scaring myself a little bit in that development. When I think about the big jobs that I took on, you know, my first real big leadership job, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And here's the reality. Most people don't know what we're doing. And if somebody says they have it all figured out, we know what the real answer is. No, you don't. No, you don't. You're doing what we all do, which is showing up, bringing your courage, bringing your experience, bringing your values, and your ability to navigate chaos, problems, and to, in the fog of the moment, come up with good solutions or good enough solutions and make them work. So whenever I've been in that place where I didn't know if I wanted to stick around where I was, the best thing I could ever do, and that I did do, was to just get quiet and stop going and doing and cleaning and doing the yard work. I was that crazy person that would, like, come home from a week of a business travel and get out in my yard because I was so dying to be in sunshine and outdoors with fresh air and be actually moving dirt around instead of piles of nothing, emails and Slack messages and spreadsheets and forecasts and blah, right? To go do something real. Like, I actually had to stop and give myself permission, which is hard for a high-performing person to do, to stop and say, all right, what the hell is going on here? Am I happy with this? Am I not happy with this? And so when you offer yourself and give yourself permission to do that pause and look at what's going on, that's when the truth really begins to reveal itself. When you're at that point in a job or a career or a company, that's where the truth comes out. Hey, quick break for a second. If you are a sales leader who is ready for your next step up, and I'm talking about leading other sales leaders, becoming a director, a VP, even a CRO, then this is for you. I'm hosting a free workshop. You can grab your spot at amyevanscoaching.com. This is for sales leaders who are in tech and are wanting to land jobs where you can earn anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million a year. And again, you can grab your spot at amyevanscoaching.com. Okay, back to the show. I think one of the major challenges that everybody is dealing with right now, so many of us are, is that there is this element of fear inside of most businesses. There's this undercurrent of fear running through the economy. And those fears are justified, right? We've seen unprecedented numbers of layoffs in a volume that we haven't seen in a decade. Um, we're seeing AI work inside of companies and relieve people of jobs. We're seeing new college graduates have struggle to find jobs. A lot of you who are millennials are like, yeah, we know. We went through that too, right? I'm a Gen Xer. They told on my generation, everybody who's in that generation, they told us all that we were never going to make as much money as our parents did. That's what they told us. Yet what we've been met with is, since the Great Recession and up until the pandemic, one of the biggest and largest global economic expansions that we've ever seen. Of course, the pandemic brought its own challenges to us, but since the past 2-3 years, and companies started to really aggressively go from this moment of where workers and talent were at a premium, and we see these big pendulum swings, right? Where for a moment or two, for a year or two, there's so much thirst and hunger for talent that you can pretty much get a job anywhere. Now, whether you can earn a right to stay at that job is a different story, but you can get a job anywhere. To now, we're in a moment where the only people who are getting hired, the only people who are getting promoted are those with a really proven track record. It's not enough to just have a beautiful resume anymore. And so this fear is in everybody's mind. And so when you're looking at what's going on in your life and your career through this lens of fear and this lens of, but what if I get laid off? That kind of thinking will only take you so far energetically. There's a leader that I worked with who is so talented and so amazing. I truly believe this person can be a CEO. I think many of you can be CEOs if you decided you wanted to be a CEO. I'll never forget, there was a quarterly business review that we had. I had all my leaders in for quarterly business review. And if you ever went to a quarterly business review of mine, I'm going to tell you, I did really great quarterly business reviews because I kept them very high level. I kept them focused on the true problems of the business and what we were going to do about it, instead of this like PowerPoint, everybody to death, report out circle that doesn't produce any results or take anyone anywhere forward. One of the questions that I asked in that QBR of all my leaders to answer was, what motivates you? What motivates you? And everybody had different answers, but I'll never forget this leader's answer. Her answer was fear. And you know what? I would have said fear. I would have said fear a decade prior. I would have said fear of failure motivates me. I am so oriented on success. I'm so oriented on winning that the fear of failing really, really motivates me to work hard. It motivates me to do the extra mile. It motivates me to get up early. It motivates me to make the extra calls, to all of the extra things that it takes to be a super high performer in tech, leadership, and sales. That kind of fear motivation works. It absolutely does. There is a dark side of that coin, and maybe you already know what that is. When you put fear of failure in the driver's seat, it really prevents you from taking some calculated risks. It takes away from your ability and freedom to run experiments and try things. There's something that I need to let you all know. If you're still in corporate America and you've been there for a long time, you could escape in your career without ever getting laid off. But the reality is, it's probably going to happen to you. So the minute that you accept the fact that at any point in time, the company could wake up and decide that you're out of there, it actually can release you from this fear motivation, this fear of failure. And I would invite you that if you are operating from that place, I'm not judging you. I'm not. I've been there. I worked my life that way for a long time, and it worked for me. It worked for me until it didn't. And the only reason it stopped working is because I decided that it didn't work for me anymore. I decided that that way of relating to my work was constricting for me, and it prevented me from a few things. It prevented me from being fully vulnerable. It prevented me from being totally authentic. It prevented me from asking for help. And it prevented me from leaving companies when I knew I should have. And I stuck it out and I suffered my way through instead, because I was so afraid that me leaving was going to label me as a failure, that would be failure. Only we know what failure is. And if you get perspective when in those moments I talked about earlier of like stepping back, of like going for a walk and unplugging from all the devices and unplugging from all of the chatter and the what I should be doing and what I'm not doing and how come this person's better and I'm not. When you turn that button off, and you can at any point get access to turn that off, what you then can get access to instead is this opportunity to get real perspective about what real failure is. What real failure is, I'm going to offer an insight to you. What real failure is when we fail to give ourselves permission to grow, when we are so concerned with what other people think that we lose alignment with what we know is best and right for us. And that really leads me to this leadership lesson that I have learned again and again and again. And I will be learning this one for the rest of my life. What I've recognized is that whenever I follow this, things work. When I resist it, they don't. And you hear people talk about this all the time. And the reason for it is that it's true. It's true. It's one of these cliches that is annoying because it's true. And that one is following your gut and trusting your gut. When you get quiet and listen to what you really want, when you start to look at, okay, what's my life about? And look at it from the perspective of health, relationships, career, and then personal fulfillment, like your spiritual, mental, physical well-being. You line all those things up and you begin to see that all of these definitions of success are probably coming from somewhere outside of you and not from inside of what's important to you. And when you take this and put it in alignment against what are you doing with your career and where do you want to go with your career, every time I found myself getting stuck where I was like, oh, I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting mad. I don't like to show up to this company anymore. Suddenly it's like a bad boyfriend. It's like you see something wrong with them and all of a sudden everything is wrong with them. And the reality is nothing about the company or the job changed. Your perspective of what is going on there changed. Your perspective of who you are and what you want has changed. And when you embrace that perspective and you embrace that it's time to move on, it's time to move up, and there's nothing wrong with choosing that if that's what you want, if that's what your gut tells you to do. If you know that's what you want and you know that's what your gut is telling you to do and you ignore it, That's where the suffering happens. And I can tell you, because I know the suffering of staying in a job I hated. And I did it more than once. I did it several times. I did it 3 times. Um, not trusting my own gut instincts and doing my own homework. I followed, and I know some of you all have done this, and it's turned out wonderfully for you. And that's awesome. I can tell you right now, I followed a boss one time to a company I would have never worked for. I would have been like, no way I'm going to work for this company. But I followed him because I trusted him and I believed in him. And I thought, if he knows best. He's a great guy. He didn't know what was best for me. I needed to do what was best for me. I showed up at that company, terrible senior leadership. He got fired within like 3 months of me showing up. And pretty soon I'm looking for the door going like, what? I would have never chosen this company except for my awesome boss. And now he's been canned. I left that opportunity and I was freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've only been at this company for 6 months. And you can already guess the stories that I was telling myself. I don't want anybody to know about this terrible mistake. I'm going to look like a job hopper. This looks bad. This looks bad. To who? To who? Who did it look bad to? I don't know. Maybe somebody judging me who doesn't know me, who hasn't heard my story. I guess so. If they want to judge me because they haven't heard my story, I've got no control over that. People do that anyway, and I don't really need it. So I took that one challenge and mistake, and I ran straight into another one. I thought, oh my gosh, I followed this guy. It didn't work out. What am I doing? And then I started to get out there and network and do all the things that you do when you're looking for another job. And this time I decided to follow a person that was a mentor. I didn't really work with him. He had a good reputation. I always liked every interaction I had with him. I felt this bond and trust. We'd been colleagues together. And so he said, yeah, come join my team. You'll report into me. And, all of these flattering things he said to me. And, the job was a lower title. It was less pay, but I was desperate. I was running away from this crummy situation because I deemed myself as having failed at picking this company. I ran into this other situation. And I tell you what, the guy that recruited me, and he knew this when he recruited me, he was already 1 foot out the door. He left within a month of me showing up. So what happened? I get there. He leaves. I ran away from place A into place B. Place B really stinks. It's in a, and what happened was this place that I showed up actually ended up being one of the best stories of my career. But I could have avoided it. I could have had turnaround stories, and I've had turnaround stories and success stories all throughout my career. I could have avoided all this suffering and pain if I'd done one thing. If I'd listened to my gut. If I'd trusted myself and done my own homework instead of trusting these other leaders to know what was best for me. Ultimately, we have the keys to our lives, to our careers. And if you're in a place where you know things aren't working for you, where you know you're ready to step up, you know you're ready to make a move, either internally or externally, give yourself permission to explore that. Give yourself permission to acknowledge that, you know what, you don't love what's going on right now. And you're going to start to take steps to change that for you, because you have the ability to make that change every single time. The door is not locked. There is no key. You can fling that thing wide open and walk through it and see what's on the other side. The other thing I'll offer you is if you are contemplating making this kind of step, like exploring other moves, either, internally inside your company where you are today, or looking in externally, two things I'll tell you. The first one is there is never going to be a shortage for great sales leaders, ever, ever, ever. People who can show up, show they've executed, and that they know how to get high-performing sellers and managers to lead and follow them and execute on a strategy. There's not enough leaders like that in the world. You'll always have a job. So that's one thing in your favor. And the other thing in your favor is the truth that you do not have to make a decision about interviewing for a role, having networking conversations. None of those things are definitive choices. They're just explorations. They're just conversations. The only time you have to make a decision about if you're going to take a job or change companies or take a promotion is when there is an offer on the table. Up until then, game on. Get out there, start having conversations, let go of the fear. The sooner you embrace your power, your strength, your wisdom that's inside of you, the better off you'll be. And if you happen to be a sales leader who is ready to get promoted or even look for a job externally, reach out to me. This is what I do all day, every day. I coach high-performing sales leaders in tech, and I help them get their next role, really high-paying roles, anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million a year. That's in the B2B tech space. I put a workshop on at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. And if you ever are curious to check that out, you can find that at amyevanscoaching.com. And if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a DM. I'm at A. Evans. I look forward to chatting with you there. Go be the leader you know you are. You got this. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining today. I know you're a super generous person, and a gift that you could give to someone you know, a friend, a colleague that you think would enjoy today's episode would be to send them a text, share a link to this episode with them. I do produce this show myself, and every time you share it, it helps the podcast grow and it supports the work that I do here. Also, if you happen to be a sales leader who is ready to take your next step up into a leader of leaders role, whether it's via promotion or you're ready to go and get that new job at a new company, I'm talking about director roles, VP roles, even CRO roles in B2B tech, where you can earn $500,000 to $1 million or more. The workshop I'm giving is an hour-long workshop. It's totally free. You'll learn the process that I teach my clients on how to effectively position themselves, effectively network, and own their executive presence so they can land the job and get hired and promoted into these big sales leadership roles in B2B tech. If this sounds like you, come grab your spot. It's waiting for you at my website, amyevanscoaching.com, where you can unlock what's next for you.